Please proceed, Honourable Senator.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. Madam Speaker, now that the dust has settled on the most prolific piece of prepared public speaking, we shall go back to what should be the debate on the appropriation bill of 2025. Madam Speaker, I therefore rise to make my contribution to this bill. Before I go any further, I'd like to use this opportunity to thank Assistant Commissioner of Police Fergus from the community of Diamonds in the constituency of South Central Windward, who gave 33 years of service to the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force. Madam Speaker, it has to be accepted by all of us who are practical in the circumstances that we are engaged in a budgetary exercise, a debate on the budget, mindful of the fact that the issues of COVID-19 are still lingering. The dust or the ash from the La Soufrière volcanic eruption is still settling. The devastation by Hurricane Beryl is still being looked at, and a high rate of crime, homicides in particular, still plague the lovely country of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The budgetary debate and discussion, I respectfully submit, has to take place within the context of these walls. And, of course, quite naturally, Madam Speaker, understanding the implication of these on the debate that we are about to have, or that we have been having, put it rightly. Madam Speaker, a couple of days ago, when Her Excellency the Governor General was delivering the throne speech, sitting right behind me were 3 justices of our High Court, and I think 2 magistrates, if my memory serves me right. And I just want to make these few comments before I delve any further into the main contribution that I do wish to make. Madam Speaker, I did not, in all full admission, I did not delve into the autonomous departments to see what precisely are some of the works to be undertaken by virtue of Budget 2025. If they are, then it may render a point or two that I'm going to be mute. If they're not, then I ask that they be given some serious but due consideration. I speak particularly to the atmosphere within some of our courtrooms in the magistracy. I remember sometime last year at the sitting of the Connery Magistrate Court in Georgetown that the magistrate had to authorize practicing lawyers that it was okay to take off your jackets. In fact, one lawyer said that he couldn't proceed any further, and the storyline had him as having turned red. I make no fun of it, but to say that as halls of justice, where magistrates and high court judges sit, we need to do a lot better to equip them, first of all, and to ensure that the environment is conducive for the exercise which transpire within their walls. And by equipping, I must say very quickly, Madam Speaker, I've had the experience where in the magistracy, for example, in the British Virgin Islands, another jurisdiction within which I practice, that I could sit in St. Vincent at times and participate in trials in the BVI. I'm not saying that it is entirely not available in St. Vincent. For example, I know in the High Court that evidence is taken electronically, but in the magistracy it is woeful, and it is something that needs consideration to help to ensure that justice is delivered speedily, and that the practitioners within the system are comforted that we care about what happens. Madam Speaker, Budget 2025, the Honourable Minister of Finance has, I guess others would clearly say, have pointed to some degree of consistency, if I may put it that way, with his budgetary themes leading from 2023 to 2025. In 2023, Madam Speaker, spoke about reducing inequality, protecting the vulnerable, and driving sustainable development as a sub-theme to building roads from recovery to resilience. I believe one of my colleagues may have slipped my 2024 copy, so I don't have it, but I will skip 2024 if I don't have it and go to 2025. 2024, I found the culprit. It was accelerated sustainable development, propelling inclusive growth, advancing people-centered reforms to building more resilience in Vincent and the Grenadines. And 2025 went to Our Resilient Future, a people-centered program. You can hear the regurgitation for relief, recovery, construction, and sustainable development. And I didn't say regurgitation in a negative way. Madam Speaker, notice I said I did not say regurgitation in a negative way. No, well, please listen and let's have a mature conversation now. Madam Speaker, in 2024, the Honourable Minister of Finance, under the agricultural, the sub-head that dealt with agriculture, and I think that was found at page 7 of his budgetary speech. He said, agriculture and the farmers and fishers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines remain at the heart of our national development. I will not go on to the statements referring our neighbors. In 2023, he said, our sectoral discussion of the budget always begins with agriculture. Within the category, agriculture and fisheries remain some of the most potent tools in St. Vincent and the Grenadines' developmental toolbox for poverty reduction, wealth creation, job creation, and resilience building. Come 2025, the Honourable Minister of Finance goes on to say, Madam Speaker, speaking of agriculture, make sure I find the correct subhead. Crave your indulgence, please, Madam Speaker. Yes, I almost said code. That's where I've become accustomed. He said on page 20 that over the last 5 years, no sector of our economy has endured a more sustained battering than agriculture. And then he went on to make reference to how surrounding circumstances in Trinidad and Tobago, British Virgin Islands, and of course made reference to COVID, how they affected the farmers and the likes. Madam Speaker, in order for us to appreciate the importance of this exercise, I cast it within an understanding that we appreciate that the budgetary exercise is an exercise of accountability by the government to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It is a time when the various ministers who are charged with managing the various ministries are to tell us, having identified the strategic priorities of the previous year, and then to tell us how well did they do in executing the strategic programs that they had asked us, that they asked the people of this country, that monies were approved for delivering in the previous year. So that in a 2025 estimate of revenue and expenditure, Madam Speaker, you would see that there is a section that deals with the Ministry of Agriculture. That is captured at page 365. And I wish to go to page 365, Madam Speaker. At page 365, you see the commencement of the Ministry of Agriculture seeking to do what I described earlier as their responsibility for giving accountability to us, the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines, under that particular area of sectoral development. Madam Speaker, under policy planning and administration, for the status of key program actions for 2024, the ministry said that it intended to revise the compensation rates for damage and loss of produce by the 31st of December 2024. So that's what they set out to do. Then there's a comment section that is supposed to tell us what was the level of achievement on this particular strategic priority area. And then under the comment section, you would see consultations with stakeholders to review the compensation rates for damage and loss completed in February 2024. So the ministry is saying, look, we were able to do this and complete this in 2024. As we go on, Madam Speaker, to page 366, said that it implement CARICOM 25 by 25 initiative to facilitate the reduction of the food import bill of 2024. Now, I believe that all of us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines want to see the food import bill for St. Vincent and the Grenadines reduced, because by reducing the food import bill, Madam Speaker, it adds value to every dollar that we have in our pocket. It means that we'll be buying local, eating local, and therefore supporting local industries. Now, so we support, so I'm making the point clearly that we support the noble concept of seeking to reduce our food import bill. Now, under the comments column, we see that the ministry says that a generator was installed at Dumbarton Hatchery to support, with support from UBEC, CERC project, and this will enable the commissioning of the new hatcher donated by IECA. I have done my own research in preparation for these debates. And the Honourable Minister of Agriculture is to speak to this budget exercise after I would have. And I trust that he would clarify for us the issue as it relates to this generator and whether or not that has really been installed as is reflected in this document, or if there are issues with the installation of this generator and whether or not we are having the work done that is supposed to be done with this generator. Then, Madam Speaker, he goes on to say to implement OECS food and agricultural system transformation. Sorry, this is FAST too? Oh, so there's a FAST initiative here. Yeah, all over. FAST. And, Madam Speaker, they say, this is, you remember when the Honourable Leader of the Opposition addressed this House, a few times the Honourable Leader of the Opposition said that he found that too often in the document that it appeared that things were sloppy. Remember that? Let's read the comment section. Implementation of the food and agriculture system transformation FAST initiative led by the OECS will commence in September 2024. That's the comment. That is supposed to tell us what had happened. In our budget for 2025, you're telling us it would commence in 2024? I don't know if it's a typographical error, if that meant September 2025. All I'm saying, I'm reading what is it before me. I could only presume that that was supposed to be September 2025, but I'm making the point that with such a serious document, with the amount of hours that was spent reviewing as we were told, this sort of sloppiness ought not to have come in the final document. That's all I'm saying. Okay, that's exactly what I'm saying if you didn't understand it. Madam Speaker, on page 367, if you see what I'm talking about again, you'd see what I'm talking about. It says, establish and operationalize the new Arud factory in Oya by the 31st December 2024. In the comment section, it says, the first phase of construction of the modern Arud factory at Orange Hill is nearing completion. So again, you're saying what you will do in Oya, but the report is telling you what has happened at Orange Hill. So the accountability column didn't tell me and didn't tell us what really happened in Oya. Again, I say it's a bit of sloppiness that we could all do without. You remember I asked a question about the fisheries and the agriculture and fisheries census. And the Honourable Minister in oral answer told me that the delay was due to burial. I mean, in all fairness to the Honourable Minister, when he said as part of his response that if you had burial and you have all this destruction, then that won't be the appropriate time to do the census. And I felt reasonable, quite logical. And I accepted that response at face value. But alas, I turned to the 2025 estimates and it gives me a different reason as to why the census was not done. What it says? The census was delayed as a result of extension of the National Population and Housing Census. The following preparatory actions were accomplished, and it lists some actions. So why is it in oral answer the minister is telling me and the country a different reason why the census was not completed, but in the estimates, in that which is documented here, we are getting a different something. It's either that he deliberately sought to mislead the House and the country, or it is further sloppiness. Madam Speaker, we go on. Page 369. The government says under the strategic section of research and development that it will construct 80 acres of on-farm soil and water conservation measures by the 31st of December 2024. And then what we had in the comment section is the target was partially achieved mainly because of the non-existence or very low complement of workers. I wanted to make sure that I was reading that right. It was partially achieved mainly because of the non-existence or very low complement of workers. I don't know if it is that the Ministry of Agriculture was supposed to hire additional staff and didn't hire the staff, whether they had monies allocated to hire additional staff to get this work done and didn't do it. But to just tell us that it was partially achieved mainly because of non-existence or low staff complement, I am not sure what this means, and I hope that the Honourable Minister, when he does address this Parliament, will speak to it. It goes on to say, evaluate new varieties of white potatoes for distribution to farmers by the 31st December 2024. The response in the comment section, white potato research commenced in the first quarter of 2024 with on-farm trials. However, these plots were all affected by the drought. The trial will recommence in the last quarter with installed irrigation, whatever that means. Madam Speaker, the truth is that this experiment found itself with some problems. And those who want to be square with the people of St. Vincent and Grenadines can be square if they so choose. There was a requirement that the variety used in the experimentation should have been planted at a particular altitude. They were not. You know why? Because the Minister of Agriculture was hell-bent on getting results within a particular time frame. So the altitude was important, but he, one, selected areas for the planting, and the time of planting, he couldn't wait for that appropriate time to come to plant. So I wanted results, and I wanted it fast, too fast. And so as a result, a lot of the white potatoes planted in the experiment was lost. Secured less than 100 pounds of white potato on this entire experiment. Less than 100 pounds. Less than 100 pounds. Madam Speaker, at page 70, he says, the ministry says to procure disease-free hatching eggs and produce a weekly supply of day-old chicks. And I go to the comment section again. Remember I said I am dealing with this section because it addresses what is it monies were approved to do and what was done. This is what we call the accountability section. This is what guides us to tell us whether or not the request for 2025 is justified. That's the point that I am making. This is the response in the comment section. The hatching of day-old chick was affected by late payment of bills, oversized and some unfertile eggs, mechanical problems from the setter incubator due to electrical outage and the passage of Hurricane Beryl. I couldn't quite understand why the ministry was saying that this was affected by late payment of bills. I don't know who was paying late here. So this has to be explained. And I don't know how the ministry proposes to get over this problem during the fiscal year 2025, because if you had a particular problem, you must then be able to tell us, we had this problem, this is where we know the problem came from, and this is how we propose to avoid that problem during the fiscal year that we are approving monies for expenditure for. And I hope that the Honourable Minister, when he does speak to us, will address also that subject matter. Under Agriculture Extension and Advisory Services, Madam Speaker, at page 374, says, promote good agricultural practices and climate-smart techniques for achieving optimal productivity. Under the comment section, this is the section that's supposed to tell us what is it was actually done. Promotion of soil conservation measures such as contour drains, terrace contours, farming and grass barriers, as well as their maintenance. Use of on-farm irrigation, use of mulch, promotion of on-farm water storage, promotion of intercropping or polycropping to maximize land usage. So I use this as an example to show it is crystal clear in this section that it shows what is it we set out to do, what is it was done. And that is the point that I'm making. So in some parts, you can see that there's a reporting of what was set out to be done and what was ultimately done. And in other parts, the responses are all over the place. You're not sure what did the ministry do with the monies that were allocated for the work to be done. Madam Speaker, under Rural Transformation Support Services at page 378, increase targeted household and youth access to vegetables by 50%. So there is what we call a mark for which we can do an evaluation. So if you say they're going to increase by 50% by 2024, we need to see exactly in your column how much did you increase it by now that 2024 is gone. Did we increase it by 10%, by 30%, or did we exceed the 50% and we notched up 60-75%? The comments are implementation of a home garden component of the well, it's a typo, food insecurity project has been delayed. Beneficiary household under this initiative should see an increase in access to vegetables by December 2024. And I guess, yes, the document is before us in January 2025, and it would not take into account whether or not we've seen that increase by December. I presume by February, March, the Honourable Minister might be in a better position to tell us whether or not there has been that increase. However, in early 2024, it goes on to say, households which participated in the home and school garden programs aimed at reducing food insecurity produced over 2,000 pounds of vegetables and 12 different varieties of vegetables. Now, it's okay to tell us how many pounds of vegetables, what different varieties, but it didn't tell us whether or not the marker of 50%, what did we actually achieve? And I say again, that speaks to the question of the accountability. Then it goes on to say, under the same rubric, Rural Transformation Support Services, Madam Speaker, it says to host national home and school garden competition to encourage the production of fruits and vegetables. Noble, noble, noble concept. Madam Speaker, I had a discussion with a member of the East St. George area, and I was able to engage the resident on his backyard gardening. And I was pleasantly impressed with the type of production that happens in his backyard. And then when he said to me that in the year 2024, from his backyard garden, he was able to make roughly $10,000. That's income for his home. So he had to use within his home, but he was able to make roughly $10,000 for the year as money to help carry his family. And that is why he said that the concept of home and school gardens, backyard gardens, whatever you call them, is noble and should be supported in every way. And we on this side would like to suggest and to promote that greater attention be given in 2025 and the projected year of 2026 to see that we get more families to get involved in backyard gardening, because this helps to reduce cost of living but at the same time, it could put some money into your pocket. We have to recognize and we have to appreciate the importance of this, but we have to put the resources to help to augment and to support these initiatives. What is the comment? 54 households registered to participate in the National Home Garden Competition, which was launched in May 2024. Now, that report, that accountability for me, you've said to us how many households. Then you go on to say, implementation of the competition is currently ongoing. The gardens will be judged later this year. What was the objective? To host national and school garden competition. There's nothing that tells us now, Madam Speaker, how many schools have participated, are participating in this competition, because it is important for us to know, I submit respectfully, how many of our students we are beginning to expose and inculcate the good principles of agriculture into their being. Because agriculture is a critical pillar for economic development for St. Vincent and the Grenadines if we are going to have a sustainable economy. But we have nothing on the schools. How many schools participated? If it is none, then tell us no schools participated, and that in 2025 you would seek to have 5, 10, 15, 20 schools participate. Don't just simply tell us about the 54 households and don't tell us nothing about the schools, because we expect you to give an account on what you said you were going to do with the monies that were approved. Madam Speaker, it goes on to say under the same section to improve farmer registry by identifying and categorizing registered farmers based on the level of production. The response, as of the 6th of February 2024, the administrative responsibility for farmers registration was moved from Rural Transformation Unit. However, the unit had already commenced with establishing criteria for the categorization of registered farmers. Now, I don't believe that the ministry gets up every Monday morning and decide where operational things happen within the ministry should shift every Monday morning. So the question is, if you're telling us that you move the administrative responsibility for farmers registration, and this parliament would remember, I'd asked a question in this house and I said that I was aware that plans were afoot to remove the registration, the farmers registration, from the Rural Transformation Unit because of certain issues, certain directives. And when those directives were not followed, the move was made to have it transferred from the Rural Transformation Unit. That's based on my research and finding. And, Madam Speaker, there has to be a reason why it was moved. And we should be told, why was it moved from the Rural Transformation Unit? What's the reason for it? Was it administrative deficiency in that unit? Or greater administrative competence in another unit? Or is it that you get up every Monday morning and you shift things around to please your own expectations? That's not how the business of governance is supposed to operate. And I am disappointed that that is the way in which that is particularly managed. Madam Speaker, in short, the ministry has not done enough to satisfy me that they have given proper account based on the outlook for 2024. They've not gone ahead to show us that they've given due account of what is it that they actually did achieve on the basis of the measurables that were established in the strategic priority areas. Madam Speaker, I therefore look to the capital program on pages 764 to 767.
Honourable Member, you have 10 minutes remaining. Should take over 5 minutes extra. Come on in.
Madam Speaker, Having been told that, I will therefore shift what I was doing. I want for the Minister of Agriculture, when he addresses us, whether tonight or tomorrow, to tell us what really are the current issues with Vinci Fresh. Vinci Fresh was supposed to be that entity that would allow or to assist farmers in marketing what they have produced. We need to know what is the situation with Vinci Fresh and what is the ministry's position in helping to make sure that farmers could be guaranteed the price when they have been advised to go and plant certain produce. We need to know what's happening with Vinci Fresh. There are some issues affecting farmers and fisher folks across this country. Markets for farm produce. Farmers cannot be guaranteed markets, Madam Speaker. I am not satisfied that the Ministry of Agriculture is doing sufficient to assist the farmers of this country in finding markets for their produce. Madam Speaker, roads. Feeder roads across this country leading to farms are in deplorable conditions. When I was but a boy, then Minister of Agriculture, I don't know if it was Minister of Agriculture then parliamentary representative, so I don't want to speak out of turn, the Honorable Alan Cruikshank, delivered that road from where Ansela Bristol lives in Lauders, past the Lauders Lomans Adventist Church, all the way up to Tiburon Mountain, all the way up. Madam Speaker, the farthest you can get now, motorable on that road, is to the Adventist Church. Can't go beyond that point. If you try to go to Tiburon Mountain from the Greg side, the moment you hit Sherman Matthews' residence, the road, I shouldn't say the road. So, you know you have holes in the road? There are bits of roads in the holes. That is what you have leading into the Marfat Mountain, into Tiburon Mountain, that could take you into Connery, and so forth and so forth, and so on. Farmers need greater support from this ministry with feeder roads. Madam Speaker, it is costing the farmers too much. After you get to harvesting, you get your produce to one point, and then you have to pay people to head them into the village. The cost of doing that is eating up into the little profit that the farmers are supposed to get. I beg that the roads in this country leading to farms, Madam Speaker, that they be given attention and be given attention soon. Madam Speaker, I was happy this morning when I heard Farmer James. Farmer James said he's getting involved in farming. But you know what? He's going to dabble. And you know, because Farmer James is going to dabble in farming, he said, Palmyra Road, that feeder road, work has been done on it. Not so? That's right. But road to Hermitage, road to Digro, road to Curtains, road to Mount Larry, those roads need fixing. Road to Oceanwood, road to Breadnut, those feeder roads need to be fixed, not just the road leading to Farmer James' farm. Madam Speaker, Peridia Larsini. Farmers in this country are crying out, farmers and fisher folks. They are losing every single day. When farmers have to reach to the point where some of them are taking their animals into their porch to tie them at night, to get away from the thieves. Alan Cruikshank said many years ago, don't tell him about Peridia Larsini. Tell it, say thief, so that people out there know what we're talking about. The people who are stealing the crops and animals of our farmers, they need to be dealt with and be dealt with swiftly. Madam Speaker, quickly, stiffer penalties, a court that would sit more often to give justice faster. Night court, of course. A unit within the police force or within the Ministry of Agriculture that would police predial larcenies. Madam Speaker, we need to use information technology and address this problem because it is keeping farmers away from their farms. Madam Speaker, I know I have but a few minutes. Clinics.
Correct. You have 5 minutes
5
remaining.
minutes. Clinics, Madam Speaker, South Central Windward. The clinic in Diamonds. I was in Diamonds on Saturday, attending a funeral. And my parliamentary representative was there too. Right next to the Diamonds Clinic remains standing a poster from the 2020 election with his face on it. That Diamonds Clinic has been leaking for years and is in that state for years. The people of Diamonds in the constituency of South Central Windward deserves better. Clinic in Lomans, the one in Greg's. I came and I asked when the people of Greg's would have their clinic. I know some restorative work has been done on it, but it's happening too slow. Madam Speaker, the people of Chapman's, New Adelphi, and New Grounds would have to either travel all the way to Diamonds, into Connery, or over in Lomans to get basic services from clinics. That doesn't have to happen. A small clinic that could provide for the needs of the people of New Adelphi, New Grounds, and Chapman's is badly needed. And I ask this government to look at the possibility of delivering a clinic to these people. Them are people picnic too. Madam Speaker, the roads generally around that area, Kimakabru, Mount Grenan to Diamonds, you should see that road. If you get a chance, go on my Facebook page. I showed it for people to see. The Breadnut Road leading to Ocean Wood. And I speak to the previous other road leading from Sherman Matthews. Hadley's Village Road. That road is in desperate state. I don't know the last time the parliamentary representative drove up into Hadley's Village. I invite him to take a drive. South Union, that road that passes in front of Bethel Alexander and others' yard, that entire road that was cut many years ago since I was a schoolboy, it needs to be properly surfaced. They're taxpayers in this country too. And I know we might be told that it was private developers that put in the road and so forth, but treat our people right. Bottom Lomans. Madam Speaker, you heard somebody talk about going on hands and toes? I think it was the Honourable Minister of Transport said what happened before he went into government in a part of North Windward. The people of Bottom Lomans in South Central Windward, if there is a rain, the last picture I saw is that they had to have 4 fellas holding 4 ends of a sheet to take a sick child out of Bottom Lomans. That is a shame in 2024. Shame. 2025. Madam Speaker, I am begging. I am on national TV tonight, begging, pleading, beseeching on the behalf of the people of Bottom Lomans, the Charles and the Bowens and the Browns and the Leslies and the Matthiases and the Roberts, please do something about it. Don't leave them like that for 2025. I don't want to call it a crime against humanity, but what those people have to live up to, it's a shame. Madam Speaker, when you get to Bishop Roman in High Lomond, just as you pass this gate, you go across to Kevin Jarvis, across to the Wesley Baptist Church, and all the way over to Jennifer Coban's shop. That road was built many, many years ago, and it is in dire need of repair, and I ask that some attention be given to it. From Cachita Williams Gap in Greg's, all the way down to the bridge at Wallace Maloney and Harris Lee, that piece of road needs some urgent attention. Pan Hill Road in Diamonds, That got some attention probably about 35 years ago. When you enter at one point by Glen Stobie and come out by Kotopen. But Madam Speaker, that piece of road again also needs some attention, and I ask that we look carefully at giving some attention to that. The road from Elvina Bristol's gate leading into the Larders playing field shouldn't be, because farmers also use that road to get into their lands. We need to give some attention. The hard court in Greg's. Oh, Lord.
Honourable Member, you have 1 minute
1 minute.
remaining.
Madam Speaker, the hard court at Lomans with an Anglican school, Shining Stars Youth Club used to organize netball tournament there. You can't do nothing like that there now. It's a forest within a hard court. Yes, a forest. I am happy that for years I've been able to award academic excellence in the constituency for students in CP and CXC for 6 straight years. Not the Prime Ministerial Youth Council, the individual Israel. For 6 years, we've been awarded academic excellence, and it was lovely. I've also been reaching out to the elderly, the vulnerable, the shut-ins in the constituency, every one of them, no one left behind, no matter your party affiliation. I said to them that within next weekend and the following week, your packages will be delivered to you. I didn't come here to do Habakkuk, nor the story of Thomas, nor all the people who became spiritual Baptists and quoted never get weary yet. Madam Speaker, but they must know that there's a Sankey that asks, Cinnamon, where will you run to on that day? That Sankey they must remember.
Honourable Member, your time is up.
And Madam Speaker, lastly.
Honourable Member.
Madam Speaker, half a minute. This is what we heard. We heard step, we heard fast, we heard cola, we heard give, we heard move, all kind. I want us to crown it off. Let us crown it off with GULPO. Get Unity Labour Party out. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honourable Members. Honourable Members, I am on my feet. I wish to remind members about the rules of the House as it pertains to the time they have been afforded to speak. I have been very permissive today in allowing members to speak, but I realize that certain members have taken the opportunity to abuse the grace and privileges of the House.